We'll talk a little bit today about HUD's implementation or lack thereof of the Manufactured Housing Improvement Act of 2000, talk about FEMA a little bit, and talk about, of course, the Dodd-Frank and the SAFE Act. So the Manufactured Housing Improvement Act was passed in 2000 by Congress, an act of law, and we thought it was pretty good. We worked on it for a long time to get passed as an industry. It did some good things for us, but unfortunately HUD has not paid a lot of attention to it. We testified last month in Congress to the House Financial Services Committee about the HUD's implementation of that act. And we explained to them that there were a number of things that were supposed to get fixed for manufactured housing that HUD have not paid any attention to. One is preemption, that the act was supposed to emphasize that HUD should vigorously enforce preemption of manufactured housing across the country. That they should not allow states or localities to try to interfere with HUD's preemption, that the home can be sited any place, that the preemption preempts any state or local codes. A lot of people ask, well, why couldn't we stop the Dodd-Frank Act as an industry? Well, there was no way. That thing was barreling down so fast after the subprime debacle and so forth. There was no way any industry, certainly not our little industry, was going to stop what was going on in Washington with that act. And it was supposed to cure some abuses, and they're probably there. The payday loans, the credit card loans, and those kinds of things. But obviously it had some unintended consequences. We got caught up, manufactured housing did, in that loan, in that act rather. It was supposed to, it ended up limiting the availability of credit for purchase of affordable manufactured homes, which was not supposed to be the case. FEMA, I know a number of you here worked on the FEMA issues. And we developed a task force on disaster housing in the spring of 2010, and Ronnie's associate J.R. Daly from American Home Stores chair that committee, and it's been meeting with FEMA several times. We participated in an industry day in July. We had a meeting with them in Washington just 2 weeks ago. The whole idea is we developed some recommendations for FEMA to try to enhance its disaster housing programs, and gave them some suggestions of how it could work better. We tried to help them identify how they could use existing communities for temporary housing sites, that if they work with community owners and operators, there probably are sites that already exist where they could move people in to those communities, land lease communities, on a temporary basis. If they work with those community operators, they could either reserve some of those spaces, get them on short notice. It might require some commitment on FEMA's part, but it would allow them to get sites very quickly. We talked about identifying local retailers who might have an inventory of homes to buy immediately, and or who could possibly store FEMA units ahead of time for a fee, and they could secure them, store them, have them ready, and deliver them to site possibly. We're for affordable housing. We're putting these people who have no other way to buy a home oftentimes. They're destined to live in rental housing or rental apartments. And that kind of story, the Congress people, your representatives, will listen to because it's their constituents. And oftentimes we forget that. We think we can't be heard. But these Congress people will respond to that kind of stuff if we can get in front of them.